Hello, good day, everyone. My name is Ropa Alice, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Raw Leadership Unboxed. Today, I'm excited. We are joined by my uncle, Hilary Mawindi. Thank you so much for coming through to this podcast. I don't know how you want me to call you.
Anything is fine. Anything is fine. So, and I appreciate you bringing me on to your podcast. And I know we've been talking about it, so it's a long time coming. So
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm excited to chit chat with you. So, as a niece, but also from a professional level as well. So this is exciting for me.
Yes, thank you. So I'll just go with Hilary. Forgive me today.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
So introduce yourself as if someone were introducing you.
Sure, sure. So my name is Mr. Hilary Mawindi, and I am from Zimbabwe. I grew up raised in Chirenzi, which is, this is in southern Lowveld. And then after that, went to Gweru, and then finally made my roots in Harare. So my path is kind of interesting because when people are introducing me, it's like, what do we say? We say, as you know, in our culture, we do it by our totem, right? Shumba. So it's one of those things that obviously I cherish, especially being here in the United States. So when you do those kind of things, it's a sign of obviously respect, but also it's a look back as track. I get introduced as Mr. Hilary Mawindi, like I said, and then also, but I think that's the main crux of I like to be introduced.
Mhm. So in terms of your career, how who are you in the field that you're currently in?
Sure. So my field is I'm in pharmaceuticals, and I've been doing this for the past 20 plus years. I started off my career in 2000. I started off with GlaxoSmithKline, which
Hmm.
is a conglomerate when it comes to pharmaceutical companies. With that company, I was doing several types of disease states,
Hmm.
from respiratory, cardiology, and
Hmm.
then urology.
Hmm.
And then after 7 years, after really doing uh, a number of stints with that company, then I moved on to another company it's called Sanofi,
Hmm.
which is a French company.
Hmm.
With them, I went into oncology,
Hmm.
and the reason for that, Alice, is this: at that time, my father, Mr. Mawindi Senior, had been diagnosed with prostate cancer,
Oh.
right? And so we were trying to figure out what this disease state is, and I
Hmm.
wanted to get a deeper understanding as to how I can also help,
Yep.
in my own way. And
Hmm.
so I did join the company, and the company was very heavily invested in prostate cancer itself,
Hmm.
right? And so much of that information, which I was able to at least relay and share with my dad up until his time of passing, but it really helped me for many, many years
Yep.
to really kind of get through and share about what urology means, what oncology means, what prostate means, right? And the disease state, and also, but more importantly, the treatment options that are there available for at that time, right?
Hmm.
What was interesting then, also, Alice, at that time was there was only one urologist in Harare,
Wow.
right? And I remember to this day, Dr. Danza, there was only one urologist at that time, and that's who my dad saw,
Hmm.
right? But then beyond that, you actually had to either go to South Africa, right, to get further treatment, or you'd actually have to be, fairly wealthy to be buying some of these, expensive treatment options, right?
Hmm.
So in my way, I was trying to also help, funnel some of these things that I was seeing here
Yep.
in the United States that could help out, right?
Hmm.
And so in a small way, I was successful, but not only for my dad, but then for some of the prostate cancer patients that were there, where the company was able to, give some of these medications at a discounted price, right? And
Amazing.
so, yeah, and so it was not only about Mr. Mawindi, but also about, the patient, those patients who had prostate cancer and they were facing the same challenges as Mr. Mawindi Senior was facing.
Mm. It's,
So,
yeah, you can go
so
ahead.
Yeah, so that was so I was with that company for about I'd say what 6 years or so,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then after that, I was looking at the new and cutting edge technology. At this time, unfortunately, Mr. Mawindi had passed, and but I still wanted to continue his legacy, right? So I did pivot to another company, which was Johnson and Johnson, which Johnson and Johnson, and they had a really interesting platform where they were coming up with this. It's called the biologic, which is a new. It was a new and upcoming, very targeted therapy for prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So I still carry the torch, right, if you will, for
Yep.
prostate cancer, even long after Mr. Mawindi's passing. But
Mm-hmm.
it was so fascinating to me because back then, when Dad was still alive, you'd get to hear about chemotherapy,
Yep.
right? And chemotherapy was an injection, usually very painful, and
Mm-hmm.
the side effects were unbearable,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that was the option. But then now the leading targeted therapies, we're now looking at therapies where the side effects were very minimal,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not an injection; these were pills,
Wow.
right? So for me, I took it upon myself and as a challenge as to okay, how can I go ahead and become part and parcel of that? How
Mm.
can I still carry the mantle and help out a lot of those patients with prostate cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Be it could be anybody's son, it could be anybody's dad, uncle,
Yep.
what have you, friend, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I always carried that as I went my journey with Mr. Mawindi to say, you know what, this doesn't end with him; it
Yep.
continues,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what that's what I did with Johnson and Johnson. It was an amazing 7 years with them. And to this day, I credit them for really taking me to where I needed to be,
Yep.
which was understanding more about what the new cutting edge technologies are, but then also more importantly, how can we affect that in Southern Africa at that point, and then the rest of Africa, if you will.
Mm-hmm. It's it's quite interesting and very inspiring what you shared there to say the situation that you found yourself in with Mr. Mawindi is what then shaped the career that you took and the career path. And it was not a selfish thing to do to say, I am going then to do this career because my dad. But even after his passing, may he so rest in peace, even after his passing, you then just kept on going to then show that it is not only about him, but it's also about other people and also helping other people that are not him, other people. As you mentioned, it can be anyone's son, it can be anyone's brother, it can be anyone's father. So it's quite inspiring you have shared here to say, this challenge that you faced in your life at a certain point shaped who you then became in your then career path. That's quite inspiring, really.
No, it was something that I took it upon myself. Then obviously as a younger man, but I told my family the same thing when I was embarking on this journey. I said, you know what? There has to be a way. There have to be some things that we can do. But then after, I took it upon myself up until this day, right? And even the current position I'm with right now, it's still about the prostate patient, right? How do we help that locally advanced prostate cancer patient? How do we help that biochemical recurrent patient, the patient that has become metastatic? Metastatic meaning the disease has now spread, and it's more for a management type of situation. We're helping them with the current treatments now. So to this day, even I just wrapped up a meeting talking about, how can we help out some of the patients here, not only in Pacific Northwest, but also in Alaska, and also in California. And we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about our drug right now currently that also helps patients with prostate cancer. So whether looking advanced or those patients with metastatic. So across what's called the advanced prostate cancer system. So that's what we're talking about because it's become a passion of
Yeah.
mine,
Mm.
because if you think about it, it's not only my dad, but then also it could also affect me,
Yep.
right?
Mm.
Because that's what usually most of the cancers that usually come, they become, it can be in a inherited disease,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have to go and get checked every year. I have to go and be aware. I need to know also what's going on. And so those are the things that really lead me and also lead this charge to become more of a passionate advocate.
Hmm. That's quite interesting and deep. So beyond this role that you carry, who are you?
Beyond the role that I carry, who am I? Let's see. So Hilary Mawindi, who is he? So Hilary Mawindi is an athlete, believe it or not. So when I came to the United States, I actually came here on a track and field scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So I came here on an athletic scholarship from Harare. I went to St. Ignatius College. I went to Prince Edward, and then that's where I got my scholarship. I ran for Zimbabwe at that time. I was 17 years old. I was running for the men's national athletics team at that time,
Wow.
Triple AZ. And then I got my scholarship. I came here to the United States. So I'm an athlete. When I was at Washington State University, that's where I got my scholarship at. I became a captain of that track team. So that also shows you that even at an early age, I was a leader,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
In what I did, but I'm also a son. I'm the last one of five kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? We were five kids in the Mawindi family. I was the last one. So if you say in Shona Gotwe, I was the last one.
Yeah.
And then I'm also a brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, as the years have gone by, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and so I play so many roles now that
Mm-hmm.
you have to balance, between professional and also personal.
Mm-hmm. That's quite interesting because I'm seeing that Gotwes or last bonds, we do have this drive to be leaders.
True, right? and we and we
Maybe
and we, and we tend to be the favorite one, right?
we tend to be the favorite one. Yeah, yeah. So if your colleagues had to describe you using three words,
Right.
what would they say?
So that's a very interesting question. So they will tell you that Hillary is very determined.
Yep.
Hillary is very disciplined. Hillary is very dedicated.
Mm.
Those are the three things I'll tell you.
Those are the three things.
Those are the three things. And determined in making sure that if I start a project, I'm going after it from A to Z. And
Mm-hmm.
make sure that project is done. Disciplined in making sure that I have the discipline to get that project through or project
Yep.
through, whatever it is. Personal, professional, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then also just making sure that the dedicated part because I know as to why I'm doing it.
Yep.
Right. Case in point, I already told you about my journey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still dedicated up until this day, 25 years later,
Mm-hmm.
right? That shows you that there's not only discipline and determination, but also that dedication that goes into it. So
Exactly.
those are the three things that if you ask anybody, whether it's at home or in my work, they'll tell you those three things.
Yes, I think with your story, those three words have been shown and it's a testament of those three words. They are not just words, but you have shown them when you were describing your career story. What is the biggest challenge that you are facing right now in your career, and how are you tackling it?
Sure, that's a good point too. So mine is how can I reach as many patients as possible?
Mm,
You would think that even after 25 years, there's a lot of awareness about prostate cancer, the
yeah.
disease itself. But there's still so many gaps.
Mm-hmm.
There's still so many holes to be filled,
Mm-hmm.
right? So my challenge has always been how many people can I reach? How many patients can I reach? How many families can I reach? Because you get to see the stats, the statistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the awareness is there, where we are reaching, optimal levels, which is over, 50, 60%. But then there's still apprehension about men going to get checked,
Yep.
their prostate, right? Even if you take a look at back home, sometimes it's almost, it ends up being like almost taboo just to go in there, they get checked by the doctors and everything else. Where,
Mm-hmm.
having this sometimes the bravado of, I'm okay. There's no need. But those are the people, as I see it, as a challenge to say, hey, listen, we are all, at some point as we grow older as men, as male and as men, we're going to get to a point where we start having enlarged prostates, right?
Mm.
We start having all these things that we have to build up. So instead of actually having to tackle this when it's a little bit too late, why don't we do it a little bit earlier, right?
Yep.
That in itself calls for awareness. That in itself calls for having a blood test, which is called a PSA test,
Mm-hmm.
right? Getting those DRAs, which is just directly exam and everything. Oh, be uncomfortable, but at least it could save your life, right? So those are the challenges that I'm looking at right now, even in 2025. So how am I going about doing this? Is and like they say, the old adage is you put the foot to the metal, right?
Yep.
You go to the seminars, the patient conferences. You go like in Seattle here or the Pacific Northwest, the big conferences with the Fred Hutchins of the world, which is a big institution,
Yep.
world-renowned institution. The Providence and the Swedish of the world, the Virginia Mason, Common Spirit, making sure that the physicians are
Mm-hmm.
aware of it, the nurses are aware of it,
Mm-hmm.
the directors of the patient advocacy are aware of it,
Yep.
right? In my small world, while you relay that information, that in itself is disseminating so that it gets to the patients,
True.
right? One patient at a time.
Yep.
It may not be all 10 patients, but if you start tackling one patient at a time, that patient then starts telling their friend, that patient starts telling the family members. And so it becomes a triple effect.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's quite profound to say one patient at a time so that it will have like that ripple effect. That's also the reason why we're doing this podcast is to touch one life at a time, is to give access to information one person at a time so that maybe it will have that ripple effect and it will reach multitudes of people. I am glad that you were not shy of the challenge that you're facing. And you're also not just folding your hands and sitting and be like, oh, yeah, we have this challenge, but you are then actively working towards bringing solutions to that challenge. That is quite profound.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
resilience is a word that we hear a lot in several professionals, in several professions to say. What does resilience actually mean to you in your profession?
Well, resilience means that, staying steadfast, right? In my profession,
Mm,
you're having this almost this dogged mentality, right?
yeah,
To make sure that, you have, in this case here, you're setting your eyes on the prize,
yeah.
right? And you're persistent.
Hmm.
You're not giving up,
You're not giving up.
no matter what comes your way,
Hmm.
right? Being resilient. If you're told no, that just means maybe no for now. But if I bring another solution to the table, how are we going to get these patients to where they need to be? Okay. Maybe these patients in a rural area, how do we get them to so that they can get their medication? Do we send maybe, the medications through now the pharmacy courier, finding a solution,
Hmm.
right? Or the patient is far away, maybe he's in Africa, and I'm here, and we're getting all these cutting edge technologies.
Yeah.
Who do we talk to in terms of the upper management, the CEO, so that at least they can take a look at these developing or emerging societies that
Hmm.
also have the same disease state,
Yep.
right? Prostate cancer is not a European or American thing. That kind of thing. It affects males in general, right? So those are some of the initiatives that we have. Case in point, we have what's called the compassionate patient program,
Hmm.
right? And I was part and parcel of that program where it actually goes beyond the borders, beyond American borders, and trying to help our patients in Europe, in Asia, in South America, in Africa. So those are the things that you can take a look at. Resilience, meaning that staying with it and never giving up, and then making sure that you definitely have your goals in sight, but at the same time, never ever relenting at any cost.
Well, that's deep. Never to give up.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So can you share? these days we hear a lot about data, and there's a lot of data around us, even in terms of prostate cancer or anything that you work with day to day. Have you ever had a time where, or have you ever faced the scenario where there is data, there's something that the data is saying, and but your judgment is saying another? How did you navigate this, or how did you then create the nexus between your judgment and what data is saying, and then bring a nexus between the two? Because we are all hearing data-driven decisions, but then there are times when the data and your judgment are two different things. How then do you navigate that?
Right. That is an excellent question. So I'll tell you, Alice, I live with this on a daily basis when it comes to that. Because, for example, they say the incidence of prostate cancer every year is about 200,000,
Yeah.
right? That's the incidence, right? So the prostate cancer, then you have to take a look at that's the incidence, that's what you get, right?
Yeah.
That's what the data shows,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the question is when you start meeting with the physicians, be it urologists, radiation oncologists, and medical oncologists, right? They are also data driven physicians,
Yeah.
right? They want to see the data from your studies as to the reason why they should be using your medication or that therapy for their prostate cancer patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because with that data, they're not going to touch it,
Yep.
right? They want to make sure that, okay, is your trial powered enough to have at least 1,000 patients, which is for the phase 3 trials,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is your data has, overall survival outcomes?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have disease-free outcomes? What is the side effect profile for your trial,
Yep.
right? That is all data driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is most important in one of my physicians here, he ends up, he is actually also a very good friend of mine. He's been doing it for 40 years. I call him a big brother, if you will. He told me one thing. He says, data is fine, well and fine, but every patient that comes in there is their own individual,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to take a look at that patient holistically
Mm-hmm.
and not have them defined by what you're seeing in the data and everything else. Because as a Mr. Mawindi comes in, he has his own profile, he has his own unique features. So you have to come in and looking at that individual as a separate as a separate patient.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get to have the diagnosis and also give that prognosis for that patient,
Okay.
right? So from my end, that's how I've also approached
Mm-hmm.
in my own world now as to taking a look at, okay, the data is fine. AI is now here and it's here to stay,
Yep.
right? All those numbers are run by AI and AI will tell you this, but then the reality is, okay, well, AI is also could have messed something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at a patient and then you're looking at a patient with certain features, okay, and then that patient needs maybe this drug, okay, maybe this patient needs an injection. Although I have a pill, but maybe it's not necessarily great for that patient because this is a 90-year-old patient that could
Yep.
probably be forgetful when it comes to pills.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe an injection
Will
is
do.
more ideal, right? But then how about maybe that 55 or 60-year-old patient that travels a lot,
Mm-hmm.
that moves, is a snowbird, that is now close to maybe their retirement years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is an injection coming in the office every month? Is that maybe ideal for that patient? But yet maybe there's planning a vacation. No, it's not. Maybe a pill is ideal for that patient because they can take it with them.
With them. Mm-hmm.
So that's how I approach this thing.
Mm. So it's then bringing that human face to this data-driven decisions, not just
Right.
using these Excel sheets or making decisions just based on an Excel sheet, but also bringing the human side of things to decisions.
Absolutely. There has to be a holistic approach,
Mm-hmm.
right? The data and also the human component of it. Those two have to merge to make sure that we have the right information moving forward so that you can further help out the patient.
That's quite profound because I think nowadays we then get lost in the numbers, in the statistics, and then we forget the human side of things when people are making decisions for people or making policies. They then forget
Right.
to bring in that human side of things. So I'm glad that you're doing that in your area to bring the human-centered decision making and also bringing the data and making a nexus between the human side and the data-driven decisions,
Right.
bringing them all together.
Right. Because it's easy for me, Alice, because why? Because it's it all emanated from where? From 20 plus years ago when I saw the diagnosis of one Mr. Mawindi Senior, right?
Yeah.
So that's the human side of it. So when you're going in there, you have to put yourself in that patient's shoes, that family's shoes, that physician's shoes, right? So that way then you can understand what they're going through,
Yep.
right? When you do that, the data is great, but then how about the other component of it? You put those two together, then it becomes more powerful.
It becomes more powerful. You brought in, when you were speaking, you brought in a big brother, that physician. So I believe that I am assuming that you believe in that whole thing of having mentors or someone who guides you when you're walking into a career or into these journeys. Who has
Absolutely.
been your most important mentor and what did you learn from them?
Okay. So the physician I spoke about, which is he's a big brother, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying this. So that's Dr. Jeff Frankel. Yeah, he's a urologist here in the Seattle area. He's been doing it for 40 years, and I've known him over 20 years myself.
Yeah.
Right. So what he has taught me is first of all is approach everything with humility. That's
Mhm.
the first thing that he taught me, right? So above and beyond just knowing him as a physician, obviously we were first talking about the clinical value of my product then to his patients, right?
Yeah.
But then I also became a constant fixture in his life, and vice versa. Where we started asking me about, okay, so that's interesting. Where are you from, and everything else. And so we started sharing these things. Started talking about more personal things. Okay, my brother, my father, and everything else. And I talked to him about my father's journey. And then so we ended up connecting in quite a deeper level,
Hmm.
right? So the other things that he has taught me that we talked about resilience. He said, hey, just keep on the fight. You
Yeah.
have a you have a say in all of this because of your past and because of the journey that you have taken,
Mhm.
right? But he's also been a person that I can rely on when it comes to just you know anything outside of my work,
Yes.
right? Be
Yeah.
it just the personal things with my family, whether my kids and everything else. And so it has been very refreshing to find somebody like him and call him my big brother,
Yeah.
right? That is there to help me in so many things, whether it's professionally but also personally, and also in this case you're talking about above and beyond what your next 5 or 10 years look like,
Yeah.
for you. He always reminds me, hey, listen, you're young, although I'm 50, but you say you're young and he's in the 70s. Says you're young, there's so many things that you can do. So here are some of the things. So he's also been channeling how I need to approach my years beyond my career.
Hmm.
So which is great. And we're now, I'll tell you this much so I can share with your audience. So we're now in the process of actually having come to Zimbabwe for the first time, and that's going to be happening in late part of December, early January. We can come into Zim, and he's actually going to be meeting some of our partners in Zimbabwe with the urologists, and actually doing some actual live cases and helping some of those patients. So I'm excited about that.
Oh my goodness, that's really exciting. So he then becomes that an all-rounder mentor who touches like all the parts of life and also who is driving that impact with you and pushing that dream with you and walking with you on this journey. That's quite
Absolutely,
that's
absolutely,
exciting.
absolutely. It is exciting. I can't wait for him to be there, and then to tackle some cases, but also to let's see how he's going to tackle Sada Nyama, right? So let's see how that goes.
Definitely do him Tanzania haifiri this.
Right? Exactly.
Yes. My next question would then be, what advice would you give to anyone who wishes to pursue the same career path as yours?
Sure, that's a good question too. So my advice is always know why you are there, right?
Hmm.
That's the first part. The why. The why is so important,
Yeah.
right? How are you going to get there is also important.
Hmm.
What you're going to achieve is also important,
Hmm.
right? Those three things. And I always talk about not only in my career path, but for any career path,
Hmm.
right? Find your passion, right? And pursue it,
Yeah.
right? Because there's one thing about passion, it always kind of like eat at you, right?
Hmm.
No matter what happens, right? So also one thing about passion is when you start dipping your feet into it, whether you're having a good day or bad day, it's irrelevant because it's your passion, because you always know what you're trying to do. You always know what the line is, right? So even on those bad days and everything else, it's a win because it's just a setback, but then you have another time to come back again and repurpose, pivot, and find another solution to whatever the challenge is before you.
Hmm.
So so my advice is just that simple. Is once you find your passion and pursue it, when you pursue it very rigorously, right?
Yep.
Why? Because that is going to be opening you up to so many other avenues in
Mm-hmm.
life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Be professional and also personal. Because the way I look at things is make sure that as you're growing into your careers, right, the professional and the personal, those things have to be balanced. You have to. It's a very delicate balance,
Yeah.
right? But then as you grow older and everything else, the personal side is going to be inevitable. That those things are going to mesh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of what you're trying to do and who you're going to be, because you're going to start bringing people into your lives and everything else, that kind of thing. But at the center of all of it, stay true to who you are.
Mm-hmm. So having that launch, that base or that foundation of the why will get you far.
Absolutely.
I'm,
Because without the why, then you're flying blindly, right?
yep.
Right. You want to make sure that you know why you're there. And that makes everything else a little bit easier, because now lifting one or two things that's a little bit harder to lift becomes easier. Going to talk to somebody who you need to break in with becomes a little bit easier. If you're a no, I always say, even with my teams here, if you're a no, you always can turn it the other way around and it becomes an on, as in on, right? How do you get to that on,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because no is the first thing that people will say, no, like other thing and stuff like that. But you haven't heard what I have to offer. You haven't heard what I have to say,
Yeah.
right? And even if you do that, okay, maybe you're not ready right now, but then come back because you know your why.
Mm. So it's then easier to bounce back if you know your why.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. My other question would be, do you like reading books?
I do. I do like reading books. And obviously these days, you have digital stuff that you look at and everything
Yeah.
else. Mine span from, believe it or not, is not only about pharmaceuticals. Uh, History, the history. Just recently, I was looking at the history of Pompeii in Italy, which is always a fascinating, story for 2,000 years. And I had the good fortune of actually visiting there, so which was really now bringing that to life and seeing what you're reading. That was just amazing as to what kind of civilization did exist 2,000 years ago and how they functioned to be just that civilization at that time, and then what is now modern Italy, and actually, if you think about it, also part of the rest of the world too.
Interesting that those are two different worlds, history and pharmaceutical.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
you're
yeah.
reading
I'm,
pharmaceutical books.
I'm quite. Actually, my kids always say this, like I'm quite the history buff. So the history, I make sure I have the history channel, because I'm always gonna be intrigued as to how the Egyptians did it,
Hmm.
right? How the Romans did it, right? And also locally home, if you think about it, how the Mutapa,
Yep.
kingdom, the empire did it, right?
Uh-huh.
You go to the ruins in Great Zimbabwe, they still stand. How did they do it,
How do they do
right?
it?
Right. All those things are so intriguing, and so those kind of things are so intriguing. Then you get to find life beyond of what you do, and you start latching on, and then that also becomes a side little passion.
Interesting. You get to find life beyond what you do. So My other question will be, beyond your title, what legacy do you hope to leave?
Well, when you do the things that I do, which obviously is directly impacting
Mm.
patients, families, right? It's not really about my legacy,
Yeah,
right? It's not really about my legacy and what I do. It's just that the question is, you know what? Did I play a small role in making a difference in people's lives?
amazing.
That's all.
You're bringing that humility. You said you taught you humility, and you're definitely slapping
Yeah,
that with that humility and that modesty. It's
yeah,
great that you are touching lives and changing lives, one life at a time, and you're part of this bigger project that is very impactful because this is life that we are talking about.
absolutely.
That's quite interesting. If you can complete this sentence for me, success beyond the role means.
Success beyond the role means having the greatest impact on everyday people.
Yes, having the greatest impact on everyday people.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So now we move to the fun segment. I
Right,
really enjoy this.
right.
What's the funniest mistake you made in your first job?
The funnest mistake?
Yes.
I don't know if that time if I throw it as fun. Ah, you know, when you're starting off, right? Because before my pharmaceutical career, actually, right out of college, I worked for a company. It was called Enterprise Rental Car.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the United States, you may know it already. It's a rental car company, right?
Yep.
And so I remember this because when I started off, I was, young, go, happy, let's go, rah rah type of person, right? And then as customers would come in all the time because they'll be renting from either hotels, the government, partners, or they have some maybe insurance replacement. They have all these things that are coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
One mistake that I remember that I did was to always assume that all these customers that are coming in, right? They have the same, they have the same thing, which is coming in. The car is the insurance replacement, and you you don't read the screen and having an understanding as to, okay, what is this coming, what is this telling you, right?
Yep.
So I remember that I ended up writing this contract because that's what you would do with a rental company, writing this contract. And I was writing this contract, I'm happy and everything. I spent an hour writing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The assumption that somebody was coming in, and here's this true story, and then you will laugh at it. So there was somebody was coming in. So it was Mr. Kerry Thompson. I remember this because that's when I came in. So I said, Mr. Kerry Thompson, Mr. Kerry Thompson, and I was writing it, and everything else. Come to find out that Mr. Kerry Thompson was actually a sheep, right? So all this time I was talking about how he's going to be here and everything else. So when you write your contract and everything else, I was writing it as a male, right? I should have known that because my name is Hilary, right? So you never assume. So I was assuming that this was guy was dead. So I was talking to him, okay, yeah, when you come here, it's gonna be there. So I end up giving this guy a big SUV because I thought he was a guy, I thought he was thing and everything else. And then here comes a tiny lady that is coming in and said, oh, where is my equivalent of a VW, right? Where is my VW that I saw? She said, no, 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 this is for Mr. Kerry Thompson. She waited for me to say my things for 5 minutes and then she said, I am the Kerry Thompson.
Oh my goodness.
So from then on, I learned the hard way because my manager looked at me, the whole office looked at me, and I said, never again will I ever assume, okay, without even reading deeper into who this person is and really digging a little bit, taking a deep dive and understanding who the customer is.
Who's a
So
cus-
that, yeah, that was my thing. And I remember to this day was 1998 when I finished my college, and it was my second month into the job.
And you do remember.
I remember it like yesterday.
So if money were not an object, what's one job you would want to try for a day?
If money was not an object,
Mhm.
Well, and to be honest with you, what I don't do it for the money,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
I don't do it for the money. I mean, maybe would I instead of maybe a pharmaceutical, would I then be just a person who can, have maybe have the wisdom and the knowledge to help people in certain situations, because it's so important, I think, to look at health as a whole, in my view.
Yep.
But then, if money was an option, then how can we preserve people to actually live longer and last and actually bountiful lives?
Mm. Hmm.
So I don't do it for the money, because everything else, that compensation, the money, and everything else will follow if you do the right thing.
Hmm. That's deep. Maybe there's this one thing that my mentor said to me one other time. He said when I was applying for different roles and telling him about my career aspirations, he's asking, so in the next 5 years, what is your plan, 10-year plan? And my plans were all around money. And then he's like, you are making this decision from a place of lack. So when he said that, in that instance, I was like, this man, how would you say that for me? Lack? Do you know what lack is? But then when I went to sit and reflect on it, I'm like, oh, now I see what he means. So I also
Right.
see what you like, I totally understand what you just shared with us here. What's a job that you've always wanted as a kid?
So this is interesting. Actually, I actually wanted to become a doctor.
Nice.
I wanted to become a doctor when I was young and everything else. And then as I grew older, I was looking at these guys who are like, wow, hold on a second. It doesn't seem like they have a life. Okay. It does seem like, in my mind, like they're away most of the time. They're going to surgery. They're dealing with all these kind of things. I was like, I have to take a look at something else. Right. So as I grew a little bit older, I started pivoting to more of business,
Mm,
right? Which is what I'm interested in. But then the funny thing is, I came kind of full circle, and
yes.
my biggest clients and my customer, what? Are physicians,
Physicians.
right? So, but I wouldn't trade this for the world. I wouldn't trade
Ah,
this for the world. I have flexibility. I do things on a different cadence with an actual physician,
right.
and I do enjoy what I do. But that's the thing that I thought I needed to do, because, as you know, back home you have to become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant as you grow up, right? So a doctor was one of them. But you know what? It was not in my cards,
It was not in your cards. I
right?
think also the other thing that limits us or it's access to information because you only have this certain number of careers that you know are available, but
Right.
you have not been opened up to some of those opportunities and there's different things that a person can become altogether.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then the joining here is a testament to that, right? Because I came here on a technical scholarship,
Hmm.
right? And then once you come here, you start taking a look at the different things that you can do,
Hmm.
right? And then, so it's not only one thing; it's a multitude of things that you can do,
Multitude of things.
right? Right. And so the question is, okay, what is your goal? What do you want to do? And you go after it, and you go after it, with vigor. So,
Bigger, which you have done. I know back home, we are always then tasked chores. What task were you always assigned to as a child?
well, yes, I could have. Yes, I was the last one, of course, like you say. But the task was always been, when we wake up as the young one and everything else, you were the one sweeping the house, sweeping the floors, and everything else. So it was one of those things that mom and dad and the rest of my siblings,
Yeah.
they would say, "Okay, you know what? Let's see, Mister Goch, what you can do, right?" Those kind of things. So those are the things that Did I do it a lot of the time? Not a lot of, but those are some of the things that I was tasked with, and I would do them happily, because at the end of the day, I knew that if I ran into any problems and everything else, I had mom and dad back me up. So because the other siblings would be like, "Let's see what you can do," right?
We
So
want to see you do it.
we want to see you do it. So
They're all against us, you know?
It's yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah.
If you were to trade places with any fictional character for a day, who will it be and why?
Okay, fictional character. So growing up, I was always interested in Spider-Man. I
Spider-Man.
was, you know what, it is, and I tell you what, it was just one of those fascinating characters that the guy can climb walls, the guy can move from building to building, and in some ways, I could see myself as an okay, you know what, this guy is fluid, right?
Yeah.
And so I like that in my even now when as in my career and everything else, I like the flexibility, I like the movement, I like the fact that in the world is an oyster, if you will. You can do
Mhm.
many different things. So that's why probably my own little way I like Spider-Man. That's the one person that I can trade with because and then guess what? You don't necessarily have to you don't necessarily have to parade and show yourself to the world.
Yep.
It's kind of like the hero behind the mask, right?
The hero
Just
behind the mask.
yeah, just operating behind the curtains and things that just happen.
Things are just interesting. So, would you rather be famous in your field or just anonymous?
No, in my field, there's no need to be famous because I always live by this adage, right? Don't be a person, uh, that is well known. Be a person worth knowing.
Wow. Be a person worth knowing.
So anonymous all the time.
Wow. Oh, wow. That hit me. Um, what's one job that you'd be terrible at?
Terrible at
Hmm.
cooking, chef, or anything. I'll be terrible for sure.
Food poisoning.
Do not try. Do not even try to. It is you will definitely run away from her because I am not a good person. So as a chef, forget it.
Forget it.
Even at home, they know that, okay, you know what? It's maybe I'm given a chore on Sundays to make a breakfast because that's easy. But the rest of the stuff we're cooking and everything else, the house will burn down. No, I'm not good at
You've been
it.
there, yes.
No. Let's keep the fire at your button away. So let's make sure it's.
That's so funny. Would you rather have a perfect memory or an ability to see into the future?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. So ability to see the future actually helps you to shape what you can do today, right?
Hmm.
So I think that if you could ever have that ability, and that's very valuable. Not to obviously minimize the memory part of it, but looking to the future and just recognizing, understanding, and seeing that. I think that's a great ability.
Amazing. Would you rather take a lot of small risks or one big risk in your career?
Or it has to be small risks.
Yes.
Because one, yeah, it has to be a small little risk because if you think about a small little risk means that you have a lifeline, right?
Yeah.
You still have it, right? Not one big one because then you're putting all your eggs in one basket,
Oh, yeah.
right? So the little ones, they're the ones that, which culminate into this like beautiful bouquet of the successes and the challenges that you've gone through.
Hmm. So it's the small bits and tits to the
The more
great.
impactful to me, yeah.
Amazing. Would you rather lose all your work on your computer or have to listen to the same song on repeat for the rest of the month? That boring song, that one that whenever you hear it, you change the channel.
So here's my thing. So my laptop and my computer, we were talking about data and everything else, right?
Hmm.
That's where my work's lifeline is, right?
Yeah.
So you know what? Give me that boring song every day. I'll listen to it and everything else. But then this year has more impact because it has a lot of things, a lot of types to it, and involves thousands and thousands of people.
Mm.
So that song that I hate and everything else, bring it on.
You endure.
I will endure, and I might end up enjoying it, right? Because it's in your head all the time. So,
That's so funny. Thank you so much for making time. So my
of
last
course.
question will be, is there a question, any question that I missed that you wish I had asked you today?
No, I think you've hit on all the questions, and I think we touched on a plethora of things, right? And
Hmm.
this was great. It's sort of a great forum to at least have the audience delve into what I do and my aspirations, and
Hmm.
also some of the things that I can share, but
Hmm.
also you being the vehicle, to the people who are listening and myself. It's a breath of fresh air, and
Hmm.
so you keep what you're doing, and you're doing an amazing job, and you know that's why I have you for as a niece.
No, thank you so much. We're back to Uncle. Thank you so much, Uncle, for
No,
making
no
time.
worries. No,
Uh, you to hear to this call. I know just now you were having another meeting and you had to jump out for you to make time for this call. I really appreciated that you made time to share these profound nuggets with us. And you were also not shy, as I mentioned earlier, to share the challenges that you're currently facing, the challenges that you faced, and how you rose above it. And just also then sharing practical lessons to it, because I think most often than not, people just want to share the rosy stuff of their lives, like, oh yeah, I am this cool. And also then bringing that humility, that humbleness, that modesty part to all of this. So I really appreciate you making time and out of your busy schedule to come sit with me and our listeners and to share your story. So this is also to our listeners. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and for following this channel. And I hope that this is life changing. This is changing your life. This is impacting you in different ways. And I hope to see you on the next episode. Once again, thank you so much, Uncle, for coming through.
my pleasure, Alice. Take care. Have a good one.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.